We've all been told the same thing pretty much our whole lives. If you want to be happy, you have to follow your passion. It's like the golden rule of career advice, right? But what if that rule is completely broken? Well, today we're going to unlearn it.
I mean, you've heard this 1,000 times, at graduations and self-help books from your own family probably, and it's such a comforting promise, isn't it? The idea that if you can just find that one thing you love, everything else, it's all just going to magically fall into place.
I know. That almost sounds like heresy. But really, what if this super well-meaning advice is actually a trap? What if it's the very thing that's setting so many of us up for anxiety and this constant feeling of failure?
So let's start by really unpacking this whole mantra. We're going to call it the myth of passion, and we're going to explore why this seemingly positive advice might not be the golden rule we've all been led to believe it is.
And here is the real-world fallout from this advice. I mean, when you don't wake up one day with a single burning passion, it's so easy to feel lost or even guilty, right? It creates this immense pressure to find your one true calling. And if you can't find it, or worse, if your passion can't pay the bills, it just feels like a huge personal failure.
But where did this intense pressure even come from? Because, it wasn't always like this. The whole idea of following your passion actually has surprisingly modern roots.
For a really long time, the goal of a job was pretty simple: stability. You work to provide for your family, period. But then, starting around the 80s and 90s, there was this major cultural shift. The focus turned inward, towards self-fulfillment and personal creativity. And while that was meant to be inspiring, it accidentally created a whole new kind of pressure.
And this brings us right to the core of the problem. This myth, it frames passion as some kind of hidden treasure. It suggests your true calling is already out there, just fully formed, and you just have to go on this grand quest to find it. And that metaphor, well, it's fundamentally flawed.
Okay, so if passion isn't some magical treasure you're supposed to discover, then what is it? Well, the reality is something far more practical and honestly way more empowering. It's all about mastery.
So here's the difference in a nutshell. The myth says passion is something you find, that it's the starting point. But the reality is that passion is something you build. It's not the cause, it's the effect. You don't just wait around for a spark, you have to build the fire. One of these paths leads to pressure, and the other leads to purpose.
Let that sink in for a second, because this is the crucial point. We have had it backward this whole time. Passion doesn't lead to mastery, mastery leads to passion. That deep, lasting fulfillment, it comes after you've put in the work and become really good at something valuable.
Think about a teacher who just absolutely loves their job. Do you really think they woke up at 18 with this unshakable destiny to teach? Probably not. They likely started with just a simple interest, maybe in a subject or in helping people. But over years of honing their craft, building skills, and seeing the real impact of their work, that small interest grew, and it deepened into a profound passion.
Okay, so if the goal isn't finding your passion, then what's the alternative? This is the actionable part. Let's just forget about passion for a moment. Instead, let's start with something much, much simpler and way more accessible: curiosity.
This is the real question to ask yourself. Forget passion. What are you curious enough to explore, even when it gets hard? What's an area where you're willing to put in the effort to push through the boring or difficult parts just to learn a little more? That right there, that is your starting point. And this lays out the new roadmap. It's a clear, really low-pressure process. You start small, just exploring a simple curiosity. Then you apply effort. You show up, you practice, you build your skills. And that effort leads to mastery and competence. And it's only then, from that place of skill and purpose, that a true sustainable passion can actually grow. So the biggest takeaway here is to completely reframe your perspective. Passion isn't the cause of hard work. It's the effect. It's not the input you need to get started. It's the output you get at the very end. And what this means is that you can let go of that huge burden of finding some predestined calling. The power isn't in finding something, it's in building something. You get to cultivate your own passion from the ground up, starting with these tiny seeds of curiosity and watering them with your consistent effort.
And this is the key takeaway I really want to leave you with. Stop waiting for some lightning bolt of inspiration to strike. Pick up the tools you have right now, your curiosity, your ability to learn, and just start building your own fire, one piece of kindling at a time.
So I'll leave you with this one final thought. Stop pressuring yourself to find your life's grand mission. Instead,
Just ask yourself this: what's one small thing you're curious about? And what's one tiny action you can take this week to explore it? Because that is where the real journey begins.